posted a photo of herself in the Porsche, but I noticed the location tag wasn't a trendy club. It was the driveway of her friend's apartment complex. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to cut out toxic people to grow. #new beginnings #hustle." I noticed a new comment from Howard, "So proud of you, sweetie. We'll figure out the payment next month." I smiled. Not a bitter smile. A free smile. I tapped the button, unfollow. Then I put the phone in my pocket and grabbed another slice of pizza. My house isn't empty. It's fortified. It's mine. And for the first time in 32 years, the foundation isn't cracking under the weight of someone else's expectations. So, am I the jerk for tearing up the deed and refusing to invest in my sister's influencer career? Or did I just save myself from bankruptcy? If you enjoyed this story, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Let me know in the comments if you would have given Kinsley a key. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.